Hello, it is Becca Switzer with Roof Sales Mastery and author of Diamonds in the Sky. And I wanted to address a question that I get a lot on calls with you guys and on email and stuff like that. And the question is, why do you know all this stuff? Like, who are you? Where did you come from? And my answer is Canada. I actually did come from Canada. I was born in Newfoundland, but I moved when I was like 5.5. My accent is long gone, which is a real bummer because it's a great accent. But anywho, I wanted to answer that question and just kind of give you guys like a brief rundown of like, where did I come from? Why do I know anything about sales? Like, what's going on? Why should you listen to me, right? So in short, I went to the University of Iowa for like 2 years. And then the summer after my sophomore year, I came back to my hometown in Iowa. And I was just going to like work over the summer and make some money for beer and pizza, mostly at that time. And I actually got I got a recruitment letter from Cutco or Vector Marketing. And if you've not heard of Cutco, it's the knives. Maybe you've seen the scissors that cut the penny and all that stuff. And so I actually started selling Cutco. That's how I met Trent at the time, my former husband. And he actually was my manager. And I was the first 10K fast starter in that district, which means I sold over $10,000 in my first 10 days, which is like pretty crazy. I actually sold almost 12,000 if we're going to be counting beans here. So I did really well there. I was the number one salesperson in Cutco for the region that year. I did over 3 20K pushes, which basically means a push is like a contest that goes for 14 days. And I did 3 pushes over $20,000 in knives, which is pretty, it's pretty good. One of those pushes was over $25,000. The second year, I sold like $100,000 in knives. Was doing really, really well. And we actually ended up getting recruited. We were kind of making our way out of Cutco at that time. And we got recruited by a former Cutco manager who at the time was the vice president of like the second largest national storm chasing company in the country. And he was actually, to make a long story very short, he was actually breaking off starting his own company. And he was kind of trying to poach like Cutco people because Cutco salespeople are badasses. Like Cutco has such an incredible training program and they just really develop great people and they attract a lot of talent and stuff like that. So we went out and started selling. And of course, before we actually started, we were told like, it's so easy. It is like shooting fish in a barrel. Like, you know, insurance pays for these roofs. People have insurance. Like you just go around and it's like shooting fish in a barrel. It's really easy. It's low hanging fruit. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. This is great. Sure. And he's like, don't worry. With your Cutco experience, you're going to do great. And I had no doubt that I would do great because, you know, it doesn't really matter what you're selling. If you're a good salesperson, you're a good salesperson. That's what we're led to believe, right? And so we go out in the field after no training. Basically, we got to listen to him do the sales training or the sales presentation, which I recorded on my phone. And he was like really rushed in his office doing it. I remember I'm like, And then he's like, hey, Chris has been doing this for like a year or whatever. Go around and listen to him knock doors. And then here's a stack of contracts. Go get them. You'll figure it out. It's pretty much a numbers game. And I'm like, okay. So went out, listened to this Chris dude, and I don't get nervous. Like I don't get nervous at all unless I have to sing in front of people, which I've actually gotten over that too. I'm pretty sure. I don't get nervous about stuff. I've done sales. You know, I can speak in front of 1,000 people. It doesn't faze me. I'm good. And when I went and knocked my first door, I don't know what it's like to be allergic to bees and get stung by a bee, but what happened to me was what I believe it would be like to be severely allergic to bees and get stung, and then your throat closes and everything gets very dry. I was like I couldn't breathe. I was so nervous and my hands were like shaking. I forgot the name of the company I was working for. I said the wrong name. It was supposed to be Steve and I said Scott, just like this whole thing. And I'm like, oh my God. And it was terrible. I'm like, what the hell? This is so hard. I went like O after O after O after O, just like not figuring it out. And I was so confused by that because I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And long story short with that is if you've done this, it's like, wow, once you get the hang of it, and you actually have like some legitimate scripts and stuff, it is very, very easy. But until you get that, it's like there are so many moving parts to insurance sales specifically, and that's what separates it from selling cars or makeup or vitamins or knives or whatever. And so it was a huge learning curve. And I was like so confused by that. And eventually, obviously, like I figured it out, and we went on to sell, like, I think we only worked for 4 months that first year. And I think I did 650. And so that's pretty good. 650,000, brought home like 105, I think. And so, but at the end of that year, we took off like 5 months to go out to Colorado and go snowboarding. And Trent was like, hey, we're doing pretty well, not knowing what we're doing. What if we found somebody who's doing some training and we did some training ourselves? Like, we'd probably do a lot better. And I'm like, great, yeah, sure. So he spends a couple days like searching online and like looking for storm restoration, sales training, stuff like that. Nothing. There was nothing. It's like Google was like, did you mean Kim Kardashian's lip kit? Like, there was nothing out there for roof sales training. It was bizarre. And then finally, I can't remember how he came across it, but he did finally come across a like a very small seminar that was going on in Texas. And it was like $500 a ticket or $1,000 a ticket or something like that. And we're like, oh, let's go down and do this. So we go, it's in this little hotel room. There's probably no more than 22 people in that whole room. And for 2 days, we sat there and we're just like, is this it? Like, is this really it? It was, no offense to, I'm happy that there are people out there that are like trying to put some material together for stuff like this, and especially at that time, because there was none, but it just wasn't that great. There wasn't a lot of value there. You would have to have been like the equivalent of a 3-year-old in the roofing industry, like a little toddler, to get anything out of that, because it was just very, very, very basic. And so because it was such a small group, like we had a chance to put in our 2 cents a lot and raise our hand, say, hey, yeah, when a situation like that happens, like here's what's been working for us and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, at the end of those 2 days, like people were not going up to the instructor and asking them questions. They were coming to us. Like they were asking me, like, hey, can you say that thing again? And what was it that you said you did when they said this? Or like when a customer says this or an insurance adjuster said this. And so we realized like, we actually have figured out quite a bit of stuff here. We don't know it all, obviously, who does? But man, like people need this information. They would pay for this information. Like we should put some stuff together. So the second year I went out, and this was the year that I like really figured out supplementing. And so that year I went out and we were in Pennsylvania again, but we were in Western Pennsylvania. And I think I did 1.25 million and made like 250. And what I was doing was figuring out the supplement game really, really well. And so my company, I remember 1 week in particular, I turned in like, we would put, like you write up on the board, like what you turned in for the week and whatever, how many jobs, stuff like that. I had only turned in like 2 jobs, but my revenue that I turned in was like 103,000 or 102,000 or something ridiculous. And people are like, what are you doing? And also we would celebrate like commission checks, right? They're like, oh, Becca's commission was like $22,000 this week. And people are like, what are you doing? Like, you're a freak. And I'm like, I mean, I'm supplementing. I just am. Aren't you guys doing that? Like, I kind of thought everybody was doing that, but they weren't. Or people were trying to supplement, but they were doing the old like fighting the good fight for O&P and Ridge and Starter and shit like that. And they just weren't getting the results that I was getting. So I remember my manager was like, can you teach everybody how to do this? Because like your jobs are hella profitable. We want more of those. And I'm like, sure. So again, long story short here, after that year, Trent and I actually moved to St. Louis. We'd started our own roofing company there, which we ran for a couple of years. And during that time, I was still selling, but I actually sat down and just started writing down every single thing that I knew. Because at that point, I'd gotten really good at door knocking, handling objections, getting referrals, explosive referral business. My closing percentage, I shit you not, was like 95%. If I sat down in front of 10 people and even one person didn't sign, it was like so strange. You know, it would have to be like that one person on the planet that it didn't matter if you were giving them a Rolls Royce, they'd still say no. Laser sharp closing skills, like my door knocking was off the chain. My supplements were huge. Again, I mean, I was getting like $16,000, $25,000 supplements sometimes, like crazy stuff like that. And I wasn't really working that hard. Like, that's the thing. When you get that good, and I'm not tooting my own horn here, I'm just trying to help you guys understand that when you get that good, when you figure out the secret sauce, you don't have to play that hard. You just go out and boop, you shoot, you score. Oh, sweet. Boop, you shoot, you score. You do that a couple times a week, you're doing over $1 million a year. It's pretty easy. So, sat at my computer, I wrote Diamonds in the Sky, and then I just started like just hemorrhaging information, like writing stuff out, creating videos, things like that. And fast forward, you know, we launched Roof Sales Mastery and put my courses out there. And of course, people were getting ridiculous results right off the bat. I really don't even have to sell my program anymore at this point. It's really cool that you guys do, because you guys that are in the programs are like, this is how well I'm doing. I tripled my revenue this year. I doubled my commission size this year. It's awesome. I love it. And I'm so proud of you guys for taking, you know, what I put together and running with it, because as I always say, my stuff is only as good as the people who implement it. So thank you for doing such a good job and for leaving such great feedback as well. I really appreciate that. And so I just started doing that. And the first program that I made was the Advanced Sales and Supplement Training Program. Because at the time, I thought that I was making it for the person that was like me. I was thinking about like the salesperson that is like, I can do this job if somebody would just tell me exactly what to do and say. Just tell me what to say, give me the recipe, I can do it, but I need that recipe. And that's how I was feeling. So I made that program first, and I really thought that it was gonna be like just salesmen. But so many business owners came to me, and I was doing calls with business owners, and they're like, we need a way to train brand new roof salesmen. And I'm like, okay. So I reverted back to my Cutco days. I actually took the Cutco training and I turned it into a roof sales training. And that's why, part of the reason why it's so good, because Cutco has such an amazing sales training program. They really do a great job, and a good management program, things like that. So I created the new hires training, and I modeled a recruiting machine off of that for recruiting, and then managing the salespeople and all that stuff. And so now I've got, at this time, depending on when you're watching this, 6 programs and counting. And it just took off. It did really well. And that's kind of where it came from. So in short, it came from Canada, dropped out of college, went and sold Cutco knives, did really well at that, sold roofs, did really well at that, started teaching people how to sell roofs, did really good at that. And now that's what I do, is I teach you guys how to do it. So I hope that answers some of your questions. Yes, I am a real human. Yes, I have sold many, many roofs. I love sales. I love connecting with people, but more than anything, I really love sales psychology, and I really love helping you guys understand the techniques and the strategies that really work, because I know that to be able to be successful in sales, you really just need to be given the recipe, and sales can offer such incredible income opportunity, and you can really have and achieve like the personal freedom and the lifestyle that you want. And that's what we're all doing this for anyways, right? I always tell people, I don't do this because I'm like passionate about roofs. I don't give a shit about roofs. I don't. I mean, they're pretty important. Don't give it. Without this thing over here, I'd be in pretty big trouble, right? But I just love teaching and sharing my perspective and sharing things that work and helping you guys. So anyways, that's who I am in a nutshell. Also, I'm a Leo. I'm allergic to cats. My social security number is 568. Yeah, right. Like I'm going to give you that. Anyways, pleasure chatting with you guys. Keep it classy out there. Check out my stuff, www.roofsalesmastery.com. As always, subscribe to the YouTube channel here and keep it classy. We'll catch you later. Bye, guys.